I am Sriram, founder of CloudDon, a cloud consulting firm. I'm happy to invite you for the OpenStack Day Seattle, the first ever OpenStack Day in the city. Here, thank you. Thank you. So before we get started, I want to give you some logistics. So this is the Crystal Ballroom. We have an entire day of session here, keynotes and panels here in the morning, and in the afternoon we have the enterprise track here. And then down the hallway by the registration desk, behind the registration desk, there's MaceNet. That's where the telco track will be happening. And further down the hallway, we have trainings happening at Heritage. Restrooms are way further down. And sponsors tables are on either side. Please feel free to check them out during break or lunch. And lunch will be served on either sides. You feel free to bring it here. Most importantly, the Wi-Fi password is on the agenda on your desktop, on your tables. Also, this survey report, please give us your feedback on how we can improve upon. And if you have any more questions, you can find me or the people at the registration desk. You're all set for the day. I'm very happy to invite Mattmiller, Seattle CTO, to give the welcome address. Michael?
All right, good morning. There is coffee over here if anyone needs it. My name is Michael Mattmiller, and I'm the City of Seattle's Chief Technology Officer, and it's great to be with you today. It's amazing to me to be in a city and work in technology when there's such an amazing ecosystem and thriving industry around us. And not just any technology industry here in the city, but the home of cloud computing, the epicenter of an industry where if you want to be successful, you need to have operations and be attracting the best and brightest talent. It's for that reason that we know the city of Seattle is going to grow by more than 120,000 people over the next 20 years. And 75% of those 120,000 will be coming to the city for jobs in the technology industry. It's an incredible rate of growth. It's an incredible sign that this city has the talent and the wherewithal to continue to drive innovation, much in the same way that OpenStack has grown. And someone's going to have to keep me honest here. I understand 30,000 members of the community now, revenues of $1.3 billion this year, growing to more than $3 billion by 2018. It's amazing that when you see a strong technology that can enable business, that can enable people to be productive, and you can attract talent to be interested, the kinds of goodness that can happen. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I've been here in the city for about 14 months in my current role. And prior to that, I was at Microsoft, where I was involved in our data privacy and protection strategy and practices in our enterprise cloud services. It was an incredible opportunity to help think about how it is that businesses trust their most valued assets to the cloud and think about the responsibilities of the technology provider in securing that data, providing powerful tools that can crunch it, but also protecting and giving customers trust in the cloud. So Mayor Murray apologizes that he can't be here this morning. But I'm happy to be here on his behalf. The mayor is committed as we grow as that high-tech city, that 120,000 new people over the next 20 years, to make sure that we're a city that is safe, that it's affordable, it's vibrant, and we are interconnected between business, residents, the nonprofit community, and our many stakeholders, an environment that make this a wonderful place to live. When you think about these objectives, technology underlies all of them. We can't have a safe city unless we provide our law enforcement officers with the technology necessary to go out and proactively prevent crime. We also can't be successful in having a safe city unless we have the practices in place to ensure the public of their privacy and the protection of their personal information as law enforcement and city government does its job. Similarly, we have a heavy responsibility that's been talked about right now to ensure affordability and making sure we're using data to understand where people in the city are moving, how those trends affect quality of life, how it affects transportation, and make sure we're putting in the right strategies and systems to help people make better decisions about their quality of life, about how they use our transportation system, putting in cyber-physical systems to protect our city's dams and watersheds and other assets as we see changes in our environment and utilization. So heavy investment in technology here in the city to make sure that our government is becoming as smart as the region around us. So what is the role of a chief technology officer in a city like Seattle? Well, we look at it three ways. It's connecting people to their government, it's enabling a productive workforce, and making Seattle a leader in digital equity. And let me tell you about each of these. Connecting people to their government. How many of you, when you want to pay your electric bill or your water bill, come to City Hall? Yeah, that'd be a pain. The City of Seattle has more than 54 lines of business, and we recognize that to engage the public, we have to have the right online tools, engagement opportunities, and communication systems to allow you to feel part of our civic life here in the city and take advantage of the city's resources. That's why we're very focused right now on a redesign of seattle.gov to make it more usable, to get more tools out to the public, and to make it easier for you to understand how you interact with the city and consume services like electricity and water, and on down the list. We're also very invested in open data. We recognize that within the city, we don't have the brain power and the resources to develop all of the cool new technology innovations to enable that better quality of life. But we do have a lot of data. We have data about how our transportation system performs. We have data about how the government spends resources and invests in our communities. And today we make more than 400 data sets available through our open data platform, data.seattle.gov. We were one of the first cities to make available real-time policing information through our online data portal. So when you call 911, that data is made available online in about 15 minutes. It's for that reason that the White House named us as a member of their Open Policing Initiative, and we continue to work with them to build trust in our law enforcement agencies by making as much data available as possible and continuing to grow those data sets. We also had a wonderful series of programs last year called Hack the Commute, where we recognized that the city alone can't solve our transportation problems in the city. So we went out to corporations, we went out to the dev community, went to a number of meetups with Code for Seattle, to understand how technologists would approach our transportation challenges, what questions they would ask, and what types of solutions they would develop if we could make data available to answer or to build those solutions. And so over the course of 6 months, we worked with 6 government agencies and produced 150 new data sets to put out there online to help people build apps and visualizations and algorithms and other analytics to help people make better data-driven decisions about their commuting patterns here in the city. And as a result of that effort, we had about 14 solutions developed. It was very impactful. We also have a cable television station in the city, Seattle Channel. Who watches Seattle Channel? Awesome, yes, we got one. Who else? Okay, that's a challenge. Go home tonight. It is an Emmy Award-winning cable television station. And we have Nancy Guppy, for anyone that's an Almost Live fan from back in the day. So that's connecting people to government. We also have a responsibility in the city to ensure we have a productive city workforce when it comes to technology. We have a number of projects in flight right now to change how it is we become a more service-driven IT provider within the city to our 28 departments. We're in the middle of going ITIL. We're a few years behind the curve on that front, but we're getting there. We're in the middle of consolidating our 15 server locations across the city into a Tier 2 data center down in Tukwila with a redundant facility east of the mountains. We're also very focused on privacy and compliance right now. We have a number of regulated businesses in the city, from that electric utility to a police department to an education department. And we need to make sure we have the right practices in place to protect the privacy and the security of the public's information. We are very thrilled that we just became PCI Level 1 compliant last month. We passed our first ROC after having been upgraded from Level 2. And for anyone who thinks that government work is slow, we went from failing our pre-assessment in 59 of 63 controls to just 6 months later passing with a clean audit report. We mobilized more than 200 IT staff from across the city on this effort, physically segmented our networks, hardened 70 physical locations around the city. It was an impressive body of work that we're very proud of. The last item you'll see on this list is cloud strategy. Another area where we recognize that your city government is not as advanced as the industry is when it comes to cloud. When we started our data center consolidation project in 2012, it was interesting. I was looking at the charter that all the departments had signed off well before I arrived, and it said some interesting things. It said we absolutely cannot consider the cloud. The cloud is not secure. The cloud is not where the government should be putting its data. And it also said we can't even virtualize servers. This was 2012. That virtualization is too newfangled of a technology for us to think about. And we had 1,200 physical servers. It was a little nutty. Since that time, I'm very pleased that we have driven concurrence and understanding of what virtualization can enable, and we now have a virtual private cloud in the city that is hosting about, I think we're up to 700 of our 1,200 servers that we started this project with. And not only are people becoming comfortable with the cloud, all of our backup will be going to the cloud, and we have driven concurrence on the need to develop a cloud strategy to make sure we are making the right cost-benefit decisions at the outset of projects about when we should go IaaS, when we need to rewrite systems, what our standard PaaS platform is going to be, and how we move forward together in more modern environments. So the last side of being a CTO in the city of Seattle is a little bit more policy than bare metal. And this is ensuring that we are a leader in digital equity. Quick show of hands, who lives in Seattle? Keep those up, and then how about the Seattle region? Okay, so most folks. So as you know, we are very fortunate here to have a very tech-literate population, a population that is benefiting from our high-tech economy. And yet at the same time, there are those here who are not fully participating in this uptick we're having in our economy here in the region. People who are benefiting from policies like the new $15 minimum wage. And also, there are still people who don't have access to the internet at home. We know that here in the city of Seattle, 15% of our households do not have access to the internet, and yet 97% of the city is served by broadband providers. So we are very focused on trying to figure out how it is that we address that 15% of our society, that if we can't get them access, we know the children in those households will have lesser learning outcomes, that they will be less productive as we go forward, and continue to perpetuate an environment where we're not all fully participating in helping build out the next generation of Seattle for our tech companies and for our consumers. We are working on this gap in a few ways. We have what we call our Technology Matching Fund that just last month awarded $500,000 of grants to community organizations focused on digital access and literacy. We're also very focused on our Digital Equity Initiative, where we just convened an action committee of 20 stakeholders from corporations, telcos, venture capital firms, the community, to help envision some new goals we can work towards as a city in partnership with our community. And we'll have the results of that work coming out in January of next year. All right. So I mentioned before, we are behind in the city on cloud, and here's what we're doing about that. We have begun to drive comfort around virtualization. We are starting to see departments self-select SaaS solutions when they are going out to bid on new systems. Now, for anyone who's worked in IT before, you know that SaaS is the favorite solution of the shadow IT functions within an organization. And so we're starting to work on some strategies to help our internal customers understand why central IT needs to be involved in those SaaS purchases and driving consistency. I'm also very excited that after 3 years of planning, we are starting our O365 migration on August 31st. We're getting that email off-prem. It's funny, I try and tell our stakeholders why this is necessary and remind them that our current email server predates the iPhone, which is why we have some challenges. But of course, not everyone's bought into the cloud yet. We still hear a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt that the moment we go to the cloud, doom and gloom happens. We lose control of our data. We are allowing, in the case of open source technologies, a wide community of people into our environment. In the case of Microsoft and Amazon and Google, that we are potentially letting law enforcement agencies or other forces come in. And so we're really trying to build trust in the cloud. We're trying to make sure that we tell the right stories about how we validate contracts and compliance. We also talk about the goodness that comes from moving away from a CapEx model where we have better control and predictability in our cost structure. But it's not all doom and gloom. We are starting to see a generation of leaders come into the city under Mayor Murray that understand what technology can enable. They understand that when we want to be a more data-driven government, the power that comes from using open source technologies that we can deploy very quickly, or being able to take advantage of the machine learning features in AWS or Azure or other types of cloud services to get faster, powerful answers for them to run their businesses. And we also see that with the decreased cost of these services as well as storage, we are able to collect more data and make better decisions as we bring a new level of accountability and performance into city government. So It's great to be with you here today. I've taken a look at the agenda and understand that it's going to be a very full day, and I'm excited for the knowledge that will happen here. I'm excited for the ideas that will be generated that will continue to propel Seattle forward as a region that is building the best technology solutions for the world to consume. And I look forward to staying in touch with you as we advance our use of technology in the city to see where OpenStack will be a part of that future environment. So thank you very much for having me.